This episode of the Story Cottage is brought to you by our friends at the Kings Ridge Elderberries, Indigo Sundries Soap Company, Lux Coffee, Skin Balm Apothecary, and our amazing supporters. Click the Support the Show link in the show notes and subscribe for only $5 a month to get every episode ad-free. And now, on with the show. Fairy tales, folklore, myths, and legends. Why do children need them? Why do nations and peoples create them? Who knows? Maybe some of them are real. Maybe some are merely imaginative. Is there a hidden wisdom worth finding in these tall tales? Proverbs 1:5-6 says, "Let the wise hear and increase in learning, and the one who understands obtain guidance, to understand a proverb and a saying, the words of the wise and their riddles." We're your hosts, Jerry and Amy Davidson. Welcome to the Story Cottage. Please step inside. There were once a man and a woman who had long in vain wished for a child. At length the woman hoped that God was about to grant her desire. These people had a little window at the back of their house from which a splendid garden could be seen, which was full of the most beautiful flowers and herbs. It was, however, surrounded by a high wall, and no one dared to go into it because it belonged to an enchantress, who had great power and was dreaded by all the world. One day, the woman was standing by this window and looking down into the garden, when she saw a bed which was planted with the most beautiful rampion, also known as Rapunzel, and it looked so fresh and green that she longed for it. She quite pined away and began to look pale and miserable. Then her husband was alarmed and asked, "What ails you, dear wife?" She replied,
"If I can't eat some of the rampion which is in the garden behind our house, I shall die."
The man, who loved her, thought, "Sooner than let your wife die, bring her some of the rampion yourself, let it cost what it will." At twilight, he clambered down over the wall into the garden of the enchantress, hastily clutched a handful of rampion, and took it to his wife. She at once made herself a salad of it and ate it greedily. It tasted so good to her, so very good, that the next day she longed for it 3 times as much as before. If he was to have any rest, her husband must once more descend into the garden. In the gloom of evening, therefore, he let himself down again, but when he had clambered down the wall, he was terribly afraid, for he saw the enchantress standing before him.
"How can you dare,"
said she with angry look,
"descend into my garden and steal my rampion like a thief? You shall suffer for it."
"Ah," answered he, "let mercy take the place of justice. I only made up my mind to do it out of necessity. My wife saw your rampion from the window and felt such a longing for it that she would have died if she had not got some to eat." Then the enchantress allowed her anger to be softened and said to him, "If the case be as you say, I will allow you to take away with you as much rampion as you will. Only I make one condition. You must give me the child which your wife will bring into the world. It shall be well treated, and I will care for it like a mother." The man in his terror consented to everything, and when the woman was brought to bed, the enchantress appeared at once, gave the child the name of Rapunzel, and took it away with her. Rapunzel grew into the most beautiful child under the sun. When she was 12 years old, the enchantress shut her into a tower which lay in a forest, and had neither stairs nor door, but quite at the top was a little window. When the enchantress wanted to go in, she placed herself beneath it and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me." Rapunzel had magnificent long hair, fine as spun gold, and when she heard the voice of the enchantress, she unfastened her braided tresses, wound them round one of the hooks of the window above, and then the hair fell 20 ells down, and the enchantress climbed up by it. After a year or two, it came to pass that the king's son rode through the forest and passed by the tower. Then he heard a song which was so charming that he stood still and listened. This was Rapunzel, who in her solitude passed her time in letting her sweet voice resound. The king's son wanted to climb up to her and looked for the door of the tower, but none was to be found. He rode home, but the singing had so deeply touched his heart that every day he went out into the forest and listened to it.
My darling husband, your beard hath become as soft as a snowdrift, and thy scent is that of a king before a grand feast. Tell me, how is this so?
Honey, why are you talking like that?
Because I am enamored with thy scent. I must know, how can these things be?
I just started using Indigo Sundry's soap. They've been a Christian family business for over 20 years who use their own proprietary recipes to make actually clean soaps, without any of the nasty stuff big soap companies use like parabens, phthalates, and preservatives. They even have essential oil only, clay, and unscented soap options, and tons of great bundles.
Oh my lord, telleth me now how mayeth we getteth more.
Honey, please stop. Just go to indigosundrysoap.com and use code STORY for 10% off.
I shall make haste to do so, and all my ladies in waiting must spread the word. For if all the wives of the world were as enthralled with their husband's scent as I, we should have peace in the land.
Sure, baby. Maybe you should stop using the bad soaps. They're making you crazy. Tired of evil fairies using cold and flu season to turn you and your children into ogres every year? Yeah, me too. This cold and flu season, fortify your defenses naturally with the King's Ridge elderberry syrup and elderberry products. They grow the freshest elderberries on their Indiana farm, hand-pick and cold-press them into the tastiest syrup around. And they are packed with antioxidants and vitamins to boost your immune system. Defend the castle of your family's health. Use code STORY10 for 10% off your first order at tkrfarm.com. The King's Ridge Elderberry Syrup. Taste the difference, help push back the curse. That's tkrfarm.com and use code STORY10 for 10% off your first order. Once, when he was thus standing behind a tree, he saw that an enchantress came there, and he heard how she cried,
Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me.
Then Rapunzel let down the braids of her hair, and the enchantress climbed up to her. If that is the ladder by which one mounts, I too will try my fortune, said he, and the next day, when it began to grow dark, he went to the tower and cried, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me. Immediately, the hair fell down and the king's son climbed up. At first, Rapunzel was terribly frightened when a man, such as her eyes had never yet beheld, came to her. But the king's son began to talk to her quite like a friend, and told her that his heart had been so stirred that it had let him have no rest, and he had been forced to see her. Then Rapunzel lost her fear, and when he asked her if she would take him for her husband, and she saw that he was young and handsome, she thought,
He will love me more than old Dame Gothel does.
And she said yes, and laid her hand in his. She said,
I will willingly go away with you, but I do not know how to get down. Bring with you a skein of silk every time you come, and I will weave a ladder with it. And when that is ready, I will descend, and you will take me on your horse.
They agreed that until that time he should come to her every evening, for the old woman came by day. The enchantress remarked nothing of this, until once Rapunzel said to her,
Tell me, Dame Gothel, how it happens that you are so much heavier for me to draw up than the young king's son. He is with me in a moment. Ah, you wicked child,
cried the enchantress.
What do I hear you say? I thought I had separated you from all the world, and yet you have deceived me.
In her anger, she clutched Rapunzel's beautiful tresses, wrapped them twice round her left hand, seized a pair of scissors with the right, and snip, snap, they were cut off, and the lovely braids lay on the ground. And she was so pitiless that she took poor Rapunzel into a desert where she had to live in great grief and misery. On the same day that she cast out Rapunzel, however, the enchantress fastened the braids of hair, which she had cut off, to the hook of the window, and when the king's son came and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me," she let the hair down. The king's son ascended, but instead of finding his dearest Rapunzel, he found the enchantress, who gazed at him with wicked and venomous looks.
Aha!
She cried mockingly.
You would fetch your dearest, but the beautiful bird sits no longer singing in the nest. The cat has got it, and will scratch out your eyes as well. Rapunzel is lost to you, and you will never see her again.
The king's son was beside himself with pain, and in his despair he leapt down from the tower. He escaped with his life, but the thorns into which he fell pierced his eyes. Then he wandered quite blind about the forest, ate nothing but roots and berries, and did not but lament and weep over the loss of his dearest wife. Thus he roamed about in misery for some years, and at length came to the desert where Rapunzel, with the twins to which she had given birth, a boy and a girl, lived in wretchedness. He heard a voice, and it seemed so familiar to him that he went towards it, and when he approached, Rapunzel knew him and fell on his neck and wept. 2 of her tears wetted his eyes, and they grew clear again, and he could see with them as before. He led her to his kingdom, where he was joyfully received, and they lived for a long time afterwards, happy and contented. Hey, honey, why are the kids running around in the backyard talking about building burrows?
Oh, I gave them a little bit of coffee.
What?
It's okay, dear. It's Lux coffee. Post tenebris lux. After darkness, light. The kids were being so disobedient, so I gave them some coffee called the Alfred option.
Oh, that's where they got the burrow thing. But wait, you're giving the kids Artisan roast coffee?
Only the best for my little angels. Lux defies convenience in favor of quality, single origin roasting. Here's a cup of brutal American for you, my knight in shining armor.
Wow, this coffee is incredible. How do we get more?
By going to luxcoffee.co and use code ChristIsKing for 15% off.
Thanks, honey. I think I'm gonna go join the kids. For Christ and his bride, post tenebris lux.
Ladies, have you grown tired of reading through the ingredients on your skincare products only to buy something that doesn't really work? Let's be real, there aren't a lot of great options for skin and body care out there. Here's the solution. Our great friends at Skin Balm Apothecary have literally everything you need. Handcrafted in the US by a mom and educated herbalist, her premium products are made for all ages and skin types and are safe for children, pregnant women, and nursing mothers, with no toxic or synthetic ingredients, no chemicals, and no fillers. I use her Awake Coffee Serum and Firming Serum every single day, and the results are immediate and absolutely incredible. My face has never been brighter or my skin clearer in my life. And she has products for hair, face, lips, and body, such as deodorant, sunscreen, body oil, and even baby balm and essential oils. Go to skinbalmapothecary.com and use code StoryCottage15 for 15% off your first order. Skin Balm Apothecary, rooted in nature, crafted with intention.
Welcome to Season 2 of the Story Cottage. Hope you enjoyed that wonderful classic story. Here we have changed our questions a tiny bit, but they're essentially asking the same thing, so let's jump in. First question, what do the characters in this story value most?
First, the wife values her own whims and desires, so much so that she uses empathy and self-pity to persuade her husband to steal from the enchantress's garden multiple times.
Second, the husband values his wife's approval so much that he commits the sin of stealing. The enchantress values her power and control, but she also values her motherly instinct to nurture something, whether it's her garden or Rapunzel.
And Rapunzel values her freedom, but more so, she loves and values the prince.
And the prince loves and values Rapunzel with his life. All right, second question. What lessons can we learn from this story?
Well, first, we learned that our whims and emotions, if left uncontrolled, can lead us onto dark paths that, 1, lead us to tempt others, and 2, make us self-obsessed, and 3, lead us to give up great things God has given us. In this story, the wife's nagging ultimately leads to both her husband's corruption and the loss of their baby girl. Secondly, when the husband stole from the garden, he did this to gain his wife's approval and stop her nagging. Each of us must put obedience to God above anyone else's opinion or approval of us. And we also must be more persistent in obedience than others are persistent in their nagging for us to disobey. The temptation to do this will come in different forms throughout your life, through your friends, your spouse, your children, and others. So be watchful for the temptation to sin to gain the approval of others.
And thirdly, don't succumb to your desire to control everything like the enchantress did. We're all tempted to do this in different ways, either by removing ourselves from the situation so we only have to control ourselves and contribute nothing, or by micromanaging and criticizing every single thing other people do or say. Both of these are sins of pride, and it leads you to destroying those things God has given you that are beautiful, but it can also blind you to and rob you of those gifts God may give and grow in you. Lastly, learn to be brave and bold for the things that matter. Falling in love is an adventure and takes real courage to see it through. And though hopefully you don't have to fight an enchantress, go blind, and wander a desert for years, you will have to contend bravely with your own sins, the sins and faults of the other person, and the cultural and social forces around us that hate godly marriages and family.
Well, thanks so much for listening to the first episode of Season 2. We look forward to sharing the many rich stories we have prepared for you and your family. A couple quick reminders. First, check out our sponsors. We are so grateful to all of them for sponsoring the show. Each of their links are in the show notes, and these are incredible Christian people running great businesses that make amazing products for you and your home.
Yes, and secondly, creating this show isn't free, so please consider clicking the support the show link in the show notes and subscribing for just $5 a month. You get all past and future episodes ad-free that way, and it allows you to be part of our little cottage and help us continue telling these timeless tales.
Also, as you're doing this, please leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on.
Yes, please. And lastly, remember that next Saturday we have the first of our short Aesop's Fables releasing, and the next main episode will release the following Saturday. All right, that's all for now. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Toodaloo.